and make my boss look good, I never had any problem with him. See, here's the thing. That's the thing we need to do. But see, not only did they have compassion on him, but because they had compassion on him and they got rid of self, they had a unified cooperation with each other. That's the thing. That's the thing. There's got to be unity. See, one person by themselves could not have gotten this man with palsy. Now I want to share this with you. When Joe had her stroke, she was in a place of compromise, and I was thinking she would be more comfortable in the bed than where she's at. And so I'm thinking, I'm a man and I can move her. Have you ever tried to move dead weight? She could not help me. She couldn't stiffen her body. She couldn't help me. See, here's the thing about it. I said, help me. On that day, I found out that I wasn't the man that I thought I was, or even used to think I was. I found out that I couldn't do that by myself. And I told her, I said, honey, if you ever have another, you're going to be where you're going to be because I can't help you. It's not that I don't want to help you. But when the paramedics got there, they took control and they worked together and they got her into the ambulance like it was no problem. Why? Because they worked together. And see, this guy was paralyzed. There was no way any one of those guys could carry him by themselves up the steps. I'm glad I'm not a fireman. I see them doing that all the time. I don't think I could do it anymore. Maybe when I was in my 20s. But see, here's the thing about it. The individual inadequacy. In Mark chapter, look at verse 2. And straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them, not so much as about the door, and he preached unto them the word. There was no way by themselves they could get him to Jesus. Each individual was inadequate to do the job. That's the thing. That's the thing about it in our lives. It's right. They come together. No, and they couldn't do that. And here's the thing: the work of God is bigger than all of us. And the work of God is not about us. The work of God is about giving him what we have and let him take what we have and who we are and use them as he sees fit. I've said this before. The Bible says to study thyself to be approved unto God, a workman that need not be ashamed. Now that doesn't mean, what I'm saying, we need to be prepared to be used at any time. We don't know if these guys ever did anything else, but they were prepared to be used here. Why? Because they knew their inadequacies alone, and they wanted to get him. They knew that if they could get him to Jesus, Jesus could take care of the situation. But they cooperated with one another. Here's the thing about it. We got an example in Exodus chapter 18. When the children of Israel was coming out and they were having problems amongst one another. And so Moses, he sits there and he starts judging them all together from morning till evening. And Jethro, his father-in-law said, hey, why are you doing this? And he said, well, they're having problems. And that's when he said, pick ye out 70 men and let them take care of the small things. And you take it. See, here's the thing about it. We can't do it all. When we was in Bible school, the thing they try to get into our mind, designate authority, let go of it, and let them do it, but oversee what they're doing. Now, don't micromanage, because nobody operates the same. But see, they cooperated with one another. There was increased industry. When they started working together, things started getting done. Now, here's the thing. I don't know what they call this, but you take a draft horse that weighs 2,000 pounds, and you put a load on him, and you say, and he pulls between 14 and 1,500 pounds or 1,600 pounds by himself. Well, you put another horse beside him, you say, well, they can pull maybe 14 or 1,600 pounds. Not true. Because they work together, they can pull more than what they can, the combination of what they each can pull by themselves. And see, therefore, if two or four of us are working together, we can carry more than what we could carry normally if we just added what we could carry. Jesus said, my yoke is easy and my burden's light. I found out that if I get in his yoke, it's not hard to pull the load. It's when I try to push and pull and tug and hard work, I can't pull the load and I get discouraged. But see, they work together. It said in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, 2 are better than one because they have a good reward of their favor. In the book of Acts chapter 2, you remember they were all of one mind and one accord, and they were all going in the same direction. They wasn't pulling against each other. They were cooperating with each other. They were following their leaders. And what and the Bible said, it said, and the Lord added unto the church daily such as should be saved. Why? They were working together. They were working together. And you know, I'm one of them guys. You know, you need to work. But here's the thing about it. Here was restraint. There was no way they could you get the people. Look at verse 4. And when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they uncovered the roof. See, the Bible says they couldn't. There was no way that he could get them there. And they were working together. There will always be. There's a barrier there. They couldn't get in the door. Now I don't know which one of them said, "Hey, I've got an idea. How about us carrying him up the steps and get him on the roof, open up the roof and let him down in front of Jesus?" Good idea. We used to camp with a couple. I think about this a lot. And we were doing something, and James, he said, you know, there's one thing that I want to hear before I die. And he said that when I have an idea that Anna will say, James, that's a good idea. And he said, I ain't never heard that. You know, she wanted to tweak it. But see, somebody come up with a good idea. They had and most people that hit barriers in life want to quit. They say, well, that door's closed. Let me share something with you. Let me ask you, in Proverbs chapter 26, it says, as a slothful man said, there is a line in the way, a line in the streets. Now, here's the thing about it. If you woke up in the morning and there was a line out there in your driveway, it would be profitable for you to keep you and your family in the house. And I'd be willing to say, and then if you stayed long enough, you'd run out of food. Something has to be done about that line to get him out of the way. Here's the thing. We say, well, that door closed. Well, did you look at the door and see if it had a handle on it? That you could turn the handle, push the door open? When Paul was what God wouldn't let him go into Asia, he said, okay. He just went through another door. That doesn't mean we're stopped. But it's just that God's got a different plan. Amen. See, they were cooperating with one another. They worked with one another. See, and then there was the resourcefulness. There wasn't no conflict between them. They figured out. And look at verse 4 again. It said the resourceful. This guy brought it up. I got ahead of myself a while ago. But first, verse 4. And when they could not come nigh unto the press, they uncovered the roof where he was. And when they had broken it up, they let down the bed and wherein the sick of palsy lay. They come up with a good idea. You know? A closed door doesn't mean it's necessarily locked. Paul recognized the adversaries but they didn't indicate a closed door to him. And then there was resilience. Now, here's the thing about it. In the day that we live in, everybody wants to sue everybody. I've read some of the stupidest things that people, and they win. But here's the thing about it. Do you suppose when those men broke forth, now listen, here's some reasoning. Said, people would say, well, why are you moving that sick man from his house? Why are you carrying him to the top of the roof? Because you're going to have people out there question what you do. Then he says, why are you destroying the roof? And then why are you disturbing the service where Jesus is preaching? You know? And here's the thing about it. And there would be somebody to go get a lawyer and have a lawsuit against what they were doing in the day that we live in. But then the unique contribution. Look at verse 5. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said unto the sick of palsy, Son, thy sins are forgiven. Now, Pastor, I thought he was going to steal my thunder the other night when I was studying this. But the Bible does say when they saw their faith, not his, their faith. You know, we got a lot of these guys, health and wealth guys and healers. I believe Jesus is a healer. I believe that with all my heart. He can heal. But when you go and nothing doesn't happen, they say it's something wrong with your faith and not my faith. I believe it works on both ways. See, here's the thing about it. The increase of faith. These guys believe within their heart that if they could just get him to Jesus would take care of his problem. And we need to have that. We need to have that in our own lives, in our own minds, that we really believe that Jesus can take care of the problems of mankind. If we really believe in that and we really trust him that, then we'll work harder than what we're working. And here's the thing about it. If we believe that and we're trusting him to do that, then there will be results. See, when Peter stepped out of the boat, in my mind, that was great faith. Peter gets beat up here a lot. Yeah, they say, when he took his eyes off of Jesus, he sank. See, and here's the thing about it. It wasn't the need of more faith. It was just the duration of his faith. Faith. You put your trust. See, he got out on the way. Here, I want you to understand this. You can say what you want to, but Peter. But he was the only